This is How to Survive Protracted Civil Litigation When the Judicial System Stopped Being Fair and Impartial, written by Claudia Barber, and read for you by Myriam Berger. Preface. James Baldwin once critiqued the United States criminal justice system, ND. If one really wishes to know how justice is administered in a country, one does not question the policemen, the lawyers, the judges, or the protected members of the middle class. One goes to the unprotected and listens to their testimony. These words resonate today. That is why I dedicated this book to the many nameless, faceless voices who deserve better. Imagine being incarcerated for decades for a crime you did not commit. This book focuses, however, on those who find going through the civil legal system an unsurmountable, daunting, and overwhelming task. Some of you are overwhelmed by the cost of litigation and hiring influential counsel to win your case, and may be perplexed with why a system that should be accessible to all has so many hurdles to assessing justice. Finding funding to finance litigation is discussed. This book further explains some court changes with self-help resources and law libraries, but that does not necessarily change who you may face in a courtroom and how that individual presides over a case. In this book, we share the differences between good and bad judges. For example, how is it that a judge who used a stun gun on a defendant was allowed to make it to the judiciary? We don't have the answers to this, but we understand how much a system that will enable this to happen remains in place. Another question is why the judiciary isn't filled with the most brilliant legal minds to adjudicate cases fairly. For example, Equal Justice Initiative Executive Director Brian Stevenson is an ideal choice for someone who should be serving on the U.S. Supreme Court. How can someone with such a brilliant legal mind and who has orchestrated cases causing the release of many wrongly convicted individuals not be considered for the highest judicial office in the land? It is time for the undervalued, marginalized population to be vocal about this. The discussion also addresses the power of voters to elect fair judges. Just because sitting judges create signs telling you they are fair does not mean that is the case. We share briefly the election of judges and how that happens. I am uniquely qualified to write this book because I have experienced injustice in the judicial system. I understand the politics of everything and the deficiencies in our legal and judicial system. I illuminate many injustices, including the rarity with which the U.S. Supreme Court hears many important cases brought before it. I hope you finish reading this book and never underestimate your voting power in electing the right judges to adjudicate cases fairly. Chapter 1. A Judge's Perspective on Why People Sue or Are Sued. Understanding why people sue one another requires insight into the multifaceted nature of human interactions and the legal principles that govern them. From the vantage point of a judge, the courtroom is a microcosm of society's complexities, conflicts, and aspirations for justice. Lawsuits arise from broken promises, perceived injustices, unintentional harm, and deliberate wrongdoing. As a neutral arbiter, a judge encounters diverse cases, each shedding light on why individuals and entities find themselves entangled in legal disputes. This perspective provides a unique vantage point on the driving forces behind litigation, the societal norms at play, and the human behaviors that lead to legal actions. By examining these underlying factors, we gain a deeper appreciation for the judiciary's role in resolving conflicts and upholding the rule of law. Anyone can be a litigant. In the modern world, the principle of equality before the law is a cornerstone of democratic societies. The idea that anyone can be a litigant, regardless of race, creed, color, or religion, underscores the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?